Excellent. That might be the recording.
Participants.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like one, but I think that does.
That's us.
Yeah. Yep. Um, so welcome, everybody. You're all doing well considering things out there. Anybody have any adjustments to last month's minutes? Okay. I assume everybody looked over the agenda. It did actually go through one revision, which doesn't change what was on it. I do have one thing to add myself, but Seth let me know that there was a particular format to the sheet and also that the meeting number changed. There's only one meeting number now because it's all being AI recorded, and I guess they've automated things better so that we all go to the same place. So that's changed on here, but you guys don't need to know that.
We're still doing the ALR recording.
Yeah.
And who are you?
That's true. I am David Martin, Chair. Thank you, Jack. Who are you? True. Thank you.
We don't need to take minutes.
I would check with Seth before not taking them.
I mean, they're all set up, so just
Yeah,
I could do it.
I figured. I haven't been told officially, but last meeting, they said that they were doing that. You might know. What have they told you for the zoning?
For the planning commission and for the select board. Charlene has retired,
Right.
so they're not, they don't have anybody taking minutes. For the development review board, we still have a recording secretary. Because she writes up the decisions.
Doesn't sound like we need one, but
Yeah.
Right.
no. Give Robert a break. He's been
You
on
fine?
service on.
I mean, I just set up the agendas and they're ready to go, and I agree with that. 2 minutes after we end the meeting, they're sent.
Yeah,
It's also being recorded.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so we could just. We can let this go.
Yeah.
I think we can probably do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had one addition. I noticed before the parade weekend that some of the signs for the bike racks, like branded bikes, signs had been damaged. So I took it upon myself before the parade to go downtown and walk around and grab the ones that were damaged. So I have 3 that the poles or some component needs the repair, replacement. 2 of the signs actually are missing.
No.
They've been torn off.
Mm.
2 of the poles had been really worked on, so the whole bottom of the post had flared out. So I'll be thinking about a better way to make that attachment happen, but not sure what.
This is purposeful damage.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say so. The sign is very tough. It took some work to get it out of there.
Cause they get reported as a police report or something, or vandalism,
It could,
public property.
yeah.
I think I should do that,
Okay,
just to let people know that we're watching.
right. Fortunately, I do have the sign that we never put up in Estabrook, or no, never put up in the Pocket Park. Down Route 7. So I have that one, I can replace one of them, and I had an extra one, so we can get all the signs back, their original shape, but that's it. So if we need another one. You,
So I make a motion that we approve the agenda and minutes from last month with the amended item that David just already took care of.
and what was your name? Sorry.
Joyous Emerson.
Yes, I did jump in there.
So Jack Schneider, I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Thank you very much. And I apologize, I can't be controlled.
No. I am sympathetic.
So following up on Toolship, Jeff was delayed in getting material for the second one. First one, has been out there. It's getting pretty regular use. It's now back at the post office after the parade. We'll leave it there till maybe the end of July and then move it again. I haven't figured out what the next location will be. Go talk to, Bill. Thanks.
Point of order.
Yes.
This is Robert Black. Let's see, we have an invitation for public comment.
I did skip over that, thank you.
And so it would be good to keep these recordings and let people know that we want them to have public comment. In other committees I've been involved with, we've actually got people to come or at least say that perhaps we can even let people know that they could send in a public comment so that we could even review it. So there begins to be a dialogue with the community. And the second one, it seems to me that
I skipped over the reflection.
first item on the agenda is something else, right?
Yes.
Do we know if people watch these? Like, does the town track how many times this video is watched or downloaded or?
It's a good question. So why not? We could promote it to, or to have. Because in other places where we've had television or, participants in the audience. And maybe we need to do something a little more engaging to attract people to this first part, maybe the invitation for a comment ties into reflections. It's part of a community question. And let people know ahead of time that we're going to be talking. We used to do a thing called energy tidbits, where we had a little point of information either that would appear in the paper and in the meeting, so it becomes a public education thing. So we're just not quietly sitting by ourselves down here and stuff sort of appears, but it becomes a part of the dialogue.
Come to our meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, but those energy tidbits, just a little paragraph or what's going on would be great if someone would be the champion of the cause.
It's neat, especially if they're little tidbits, there's salient little points that a lot of people don't know. And they could be even part of a longer legacy that we just keep track as a kind of an archive of tidbits. And I used to bring sometimes when they first came out with compact fluorescents, I would bring a compact fluorescent and say, what's this? And talk about why is that different than a regular fluorescent or an incandescent and why? So, and the things that are going on here, like you were just talking about, gonna apply for your tax, whatever the things you have to do for completing a project. So. Or even like when some august member decides to resign their seat, that we have a little thing that says, thank you, we do some little presentation, there's a little, I don't know, medallion or something you get, or thing you could wear around the communities. I used to be something to just get some buzz going. That's the thing with the Downtown Brandon Alliance, is to keep Brandon buzzing and try to get some conversation so that we are a living part of the community and valuable.
So the reporter issue the week before the select board meetings, Seth puts in his town manager report. Right. Maybe that's a good spot to put the agenda. 'Cause I don't think anybody
will
looks
that much space.
You can't even read the one in front of the town office there.
You can't read it.
It's all fogged up.
Right.
Yeah, that plexi is so scratched up.
Definitely shot.
We're working on through the Downtown Brandon Alliance. There's a sign out in front of the Brandon Inn, and there's one in front of this building that has some removable letters and stuff. But we're in the process of redesigning this one, putting the logo on it, and having 3 other locations where this would appear. There used to be one outside the office. It was actually more useful, and it has a little swing door on it with some better raising. And bless it. And we could have some little thing that just shows up in there as part of it. Then each month the energy committee is going to meet, and this month there's some little thing, but had a QR code, and you could go to some famous composer's little song that month. It was something interesting.
Okay.
Song about Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. There's anything to create a little buzz and interest, because, you know, that's all. I just was with Warren Kimball, sorry, last thing. He was the head cheerleader at Syracuse. So Warren is a master clown and cheerleader. And he just had his 90th birthday party with Circus Smirkus, and 2 busloads of people, and 150 people from Brandon went. Having Warren's gift to the town to celebrate his birthday, big time.
That was that.
And were he sitting here, you would hear a different story about what we should be doing. Just a thought.
Yep.
Invite us.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so back to the agenda. Am I skipping over the reflection? So I put out an email a couple weeks back about one of my favorite podcasts called Volts, which David Roberts does that. He's a journalist working in energy issues, and he does some really interesting interviews with people kind of on the cutting edge, maybe, or at least very broad. Like the last one I listened to, he was talking to someone from PG&E in California and what they're doing to address issues, you know, the fire issues they've had, the efficiency, which a lot of what he was talking about had to do with balancing out loads and anticipating loads. All these different, very complex stuff. Another one about a company, Cricket, which is a company that's innovating in the geothermal. They've come up with their own drill rig, which is much smaller than the standard truck. So very small urban lots. They're mainly in the Northeast. They aren't in Vermont yet, but they are in Massachusetts. So that was pretty interesting. So that's just one example of what I was thinking of that we might not all know about, but if we put that out there, you know, and if somebody wants, I can, maybe you'll take them what's on the list of these things that people are sharing. But that's like, I just come across stuff, and that's probably what everybody does, but I think there are some good sources out there that I haven't found. So I was interested to hear what other people had found that was really useful in their learning. Something that's, you know, particularly effective at communication, whatever.
I find a fellow from England who does a little blurb on YouTube routinely called Just Have a Think. Just Have a Think. He's does just great balanced reporting, all things environmental and all the innovation stuff and what their limits are, and what their potential is. You know, it's just very balanced and a very excellent report. Guy, worthy source. Keep up.
Well, if you watch Fox News, you can just assume it's the opposite of whatever they say.
So that's your source.
So we're always making a comeback.
Speaking of developments on the federal level, I read an article today that says that the bill that was passed on July 4th is going to get rid of tax advantages for EVs as of September.
Yes.
And everything else by the end of the year.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if we should sort of agitate about that, like write an article saying, if you've been considering, you know, EVs or going solar or whatever, now's the time. And you know, maybe like interviewing the companies who do solar around here and finding out how much lead time would be needed and
Yeah.
because it's like, you know, now's the time for real.
It is, yeah.
And I mean, I can't justify trading in my perfectly fine non-electric car, but
Mm.
if I could, I would, I mean, yeah. So does that seem like something?
I think it's worth considering putting something out there, like in the Reporter, you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and make it like hyper local, like
Right.
these are the 6 companies who have
Right.
been
Yep.
doing solar installations in town. And you might want to call and get on the list
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
If you want to do it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of our job, right? As the energy committee.
I also think most of the solar companies will also be doing that with their marketing.
Right.
Hardcore, but I think it is something we should let people know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of different if it's coming from us rather than.
Yeah,
from a
Because we're not trying to market
because
anything.
we're not making money from it.
Right.
you
We
know.
just want you to know
Yeah.
that you should do this now or
Yeah,
I've
We
actually
have-
gotten some emails that actually state that,
I'm sorry.
just from different groups, some emails that actually state that. You know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be up at this time, that was the time, so it's going out.
Yeah.
So I found this for when the timetable for the solar credits goes away. I believe the EV ones go away immediately, right?
I think they said September,
And
There's-
probably-
That's kind of almost
Use that.
immediately.
Yeah.
unless you run right to the dealership tomorrow.
what's the end of their fiscal year is at the end of
Yeah.
September.
So for residential, the solar tax credit is good 30% through the end of this year. And then it starts getting phased out, so it's 18% next year. Yeah, 6% the following year and then 0 the following year, which hopefully is an election year.
Hopefully.
I think. I'm not gonna have the right answer, but there's something about in terms of what has to happen by the end of the year, like interconnection, that, what?
So normally, I don't quote me on this because it's been a few years, but I believe as long as the certificate of public good is issued by whatever the cutoff date is.
Okay.
But you might have to also pay for it by that point. I'm not clear on that.
I'm not sure they would drive by your house to see if the solar had actually been put up or not.
Right. Or by the time they did, it would be.
They fired all their restaurants.
Yeah, it's true.
So I typed in the question, what are the most interesting sources of energy related news and information? ChatGPT. Generally energy news and analysis, E&E News, Bloomberg. Green Tech Media is an interesting one, which I didn't know about. The site closed down, but they have an amazing archive, gold mine for solar storage and grid tech history, which is an interesting thing to have that. There's Energy Wire, International Energy Outlook, there's stuff about FERC, all the usual things, Clean Technica, but most of these are, when you ask this question, are about these utility scale
Right.
projects and stuff. And I don't know how that relates to the local level, but
Yeah.
I was thinking about how do we bring it down to this level? And I've tried this in other places where I mentioned this, I think, was I talking to Jack or Mike Bailey? Could we begin to find a way to not just work with the town for funding for this, like we're doing with the DBA, to have town funding, but to have through like there are donor advised funds at the Vermont Community Foundation and stuff. were doing this before in other places, all these other things are going away. Maybe we have to create something at the local level and induce people with money in Vermont who want to see this happen. Come and support this. There's like an energy fund or something. It's sort of like what Shirley Farr did with her particular focus. But there are others maybe who could leave a remainder trust or some other thing that would be this endowment. Right, and so then we create our own incentives on the local level and not necessarily rely on this. 'Cause when you look up these big news, the FERC stuff and all that, it's, most people don't, it's not an incentive. But how can I, like the DIY projects that are going on? How could I do this if I could get some help locally? I mean, I'm not sure how we do that, but maybe we even, the Energy Committee puts out a pitch. There's people at VCF who would be willing to listen to that. You know, I know 2 women who run a feral cat clinic up in Northeast Kingdom, and they are funded, you know, through people that want to fund feral cats. There are many other sources like that, money that perhaps we could come down to the local level here and be the source here. Just a thought. And I might try to reach out to a couple people I know and see if there's a way we could try to induce that locally. So,
Well, here's another thing. I'm just thinking about my own personal situation, but it might be scalable in a way that's sort of related, but sort of not. So I want the tax advantage. I'm planning on building out at Azadika.
mhm.
I don't need all the solar right away because I think what I'm gonna do is build the garage thing I sent you first, which will have the solar on it. And then build the studio, because the studio has to have a different roof angle, and so it's
Yeah.
better to have the garage in. So, long story short, to get the full 30%, I should probably put in a maximum amount of solar panels rather than just half the solar panels this year
Sure.
and the rest next year. But I'm not going to need all that energy right away.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would be willing to give it to a pool, and I think GMP will let you do that, right?
Not
To help
But
You
to
could send it
send
to Customer.
another customer, right?
You can give a percentage
Right.
each month of your credits to another GMP account or multiple accounts.
Right, you could split it
Like
down.
That's
you
right.
have to get 5 or so.
Right, so
Yeah.
like, and I haven't yet run the numbers and figured out what I'm gonna do or whatever, but like, it feels to me like that's a way. It's beneficial to me to front load the solar in order to get the full impact. But I'm not actually gonna need all that power immediately. I won't need it for probably another year. And to help people who can't pay their electric bills,
Yeah,
you know, and if there were other people who were considering the same thing, we could basically do, it's sort of like, you know, what do they call that? There's a name for lefty people do it, you know,
Communism.
shared, what is it called? You know.
Yeah.
Not communism,
that's a great idea. Good
Yeah,
idea.
good.
right?
It's a
Yeah.
pay it forward kind of thing, or pay
Yeah.
it backward or whatever you want to call
Yeah, where I'm getting the
Here,
tax
this-
benefit,
it. Yeah,
even though I don't need all that power right away.
Right,
but then it's given sort of back into the grid through the particular GMP
Right.
account.
And if we can figure out a way of identifying the people who need the most help with their electric bill, you know, and if it's a max of 5 people,
It could be people or it could be
nonprofit
that's.
strong.
There's a lot of.
It's like a-
Yeah.
That's
Try to
true,
do
too.
something.
yeah,
There's nonprofits that are really.
You could,
Into the-
there's a few ways.
Be stringy.
I think you
Yeah.
could get
Yeah.
information from GMP
Yeah.
about people who,
I deal with the seniors, but it could be your electricity, just,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think he's asking about like figuring out who,
what accounts? Tricky to get that.
I think you'd have to ask them to, they'd have to apply for it. It'd have to be people who apply for it, I think.
Could be a lottery.
or we'd have to go through GMP and they would have to reach out. Or know who they're
Right.
reaching out to specifically.
That was my thought.
That-
Yeah.
that-
But you you could share with a nonprofit
Yes.
electric account, so
Yeah.
that's a good option.
Another option.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
So, go ahead.
Sorry,
No,
no.
no,
So,
I'm changing.
I mean, if this is a good idea, which I'm really not sure it is, I'm just thinking about my own situation, right?
No, I think, because Solar Fest also, currently has a lot of credits that they've built up because we don't have a huge draw right now. We will see after the festival how much we have left,
Right, right.
but
Other people that may have credits to put into that sort of a pool.
And maybe GMP would let us do it that way, where multiple accounts. I don't know, maybe that's too complicated,
yeah, it's really got to be like this
Account
goes there, right?
A certain
or the
percentage.
accounts. It can be, like 5% to this account, 5% to this account or whatever, but
Say you gave it to Nifty Thrifty, can Nifty Thrifty receive from more than one source of
Sure.
that nature?
yes,
So they can get 5 different people. to-
Yes.
yes.
That's cool. So
Yeah,
who would be a champion at, when Steve Costello was there, he was interesting to.
At GMP,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about
It
it.
would be good to develop a liaison. between
Yeah.
those.
I know there's I can't remember his name right now, but he's the guy up in the main guy up in Middlebury that does all the connections and stuff. But he's not in that. His name is Christopher.
Acorn.
No. I think it's Chris something. I'd have to look it up. Mike would know. Mike Bailey would know.
We had in Arbor, we had a guy who was part of the Mishcon, it was called the gas company that became part of DTE. And he was their public liaison. He was part of the Energy Commission. And he came to all the meetings. And so we had a direct
And I-
connection to the guy. So that might be, if we're talking about. We have to replace a member on this table. It's just too bad. Maybe we could find somebody who's more
Still
useful
here.
or
Ain't
something.
going anywhere.
Okay. Hey, glad to have you.
But wouldn't that be interesting if there was an ad hoc person at GMP who would become our resource for?
Yeah, I wonder if
Yeah,
there's
where do you-
a GMP mid-level management person or something.
Or their community
Living in
outreach or somebody like that.
Brandon, yeah, that'd be kind of great.
Let me
I did try to.
let me
get-
ask Emily if she knows, because she worked for GMP. She doesn't anymore.
Given.
But when it down to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you haven't used all your credits up, you lose them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
No,
12-month rolling.
so it's
12
rolling by 12 months. So
You got 12 months to use your credits.
to use each month's credit. So it's not like on December 31st, all of that year's credits don't go all the way.
yeah, it's
But-
just rolling
and-
every month.
So if you knew you were not gonna use up all your credits. Do you do like a one-time
You can't.
donation
Yeah,
of credits to the account?
No. You used to be able to, but you can't now. You have to set it up as a percentage of each month's credits. And they only let you change the percentage or what account it's going to like 3 times a year or something. So,
Oh, because I wanted to set it up, so first it goes to the land, then it comes to my house in case there's a shortfall at my house.
yeah, no, it's, you
and
have,
then it goes-
yeah,
You have to
No.
figure it out.
you have to sort of calculate it out, what you think each place is gonna need, and then say 5% goes to here,
What if you
40% goes here, 55% goes here.
You can change it later.
Yeah.
Percentage.
Yes, you can only do it so many times during a year
Okay.
or
Yeah.
so often, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than,
Okay,
but you can change it if it's not working for you.
yeah, that seems like.
Yeah.
Have to keep track.
Another subject, I mean, to go back to the sources.
Mhm. Yes.
There's a netzero.org that covers all sorts of topics, especially in the building arena, how to
Right.
build and retrofit or. And what, they review all sorts of energy efficient products and so forth, really kind of.
Right.
Down home. Yeah, approach is very good.
Any others on that? Sources? I like your idea, Steve, and we should try and find out more, figure out if there's a way to do that.
Let me know how I can be helpful. I mean,
I
I
think
don't
if we
know
get a
what-
connection at GMP, maybe that would be a place to start. Does the Solar Fest have plans for their,
So the big array
yeah,
is, we do not have specific plans. It is for, basically for sale.
Yep.
I know they're talking to Pulteney or Putney. I think Pulteney.
probably told me.
About buying all of it,
Mhm.
but I don't think any of that's been worked out for sure yet. It's for sale. Good, if you want it.
I think one of the other requirements was tax credits, right? It's tax credits for, commercial.
Yeah.
Installations go longer, a couple more years. So. Now, I guess they could sell it, Actually, no. And it's going on.
Right.
I think the concern in Pulteney right now is, what's the credits going away, the municipal credits going away?
All right. Get back to where I was off track. before.
Sorry.
No, that's
Sorry.
okay. No, you're fine.
No,
That
it's
was
a
a good
good
discussion. Appreciate it. So just quickly, the toolship one was in the parade, probably everybody except you, I think, was there. So thank you, everybody, for coming along.
I made sure it got in the right place in mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, you do good.
So it's perfect. The leaf blowers blew the candy off the
That's
side.
good, right?
Toolship 2, we haven't started construction because Jeff's truck was on the fritz for about a month, but he's got it back working, so hopefully he can go get the material for that. And we'll get started on that soon. We do have in this year's budget now, starting July 1st, $1,000 tool library. So we should start thinking about what we want to do with that. We also had $500 for public events, so things around the energy navigation. Button up or whatever. So think about how we want to expand the library. And we talked about the array installation, that's underway.
Anything specific, I mean, is it halfway done, 2/3 done?
I understand the racking,
What's that?
the racking is done, and they're
It is.
taking this week off,
Oh,
and then they'll start putting in the panels next week.
okay.
That's the last of it. Good.
Okay.
Still looking for volunteers. don't know
I
if you
said
would
I'd help
volunteer.
out more and I mean, I had to cancel one plan to be there, but I'll be there next week then.
Can I just ask a question back on for a second? You had
Yeah.
something about a promotional video for the tool shed.
Yeah, and
And
then.
it sits out there and there's a lot of people asking questions about how do you interact with it? And
Mhm.
it's a really great opportunity. It's a beautiful thing,
Mhm.
The International Space Station just went over the last 2 nights and it might be a moment to say the tool shed has a link to this. But there's people who would like to know, how do you use it? Somebody asked me again today, how can I do it? How do you take care of it?
Make an instructional video and
Yeah.
put it on YouTube.
Yeah,
Just something like that with maybe some nice music.
do you want to be involved in that?
Sure. You
So-
can teach me because I've never used the
Yeah.
tooltip, so I
Yeah.
can be
So-
the idiot.
So
who
part
doesn't
of,
do it.
you weren't here for the whole previous 2 meetings, I think I brought this up. So my vision was more of a kind of social media promotion kind of video in the beginning that could end with kind of a walkthrough thing, but
Yeah.
it needs to be short for social media, so maybe there's one that's, you know, kind of promoting it, and then there's one that gets into more depth of detail, but my vision was, you know, going with the theme of toolship, which is like spaceship. And you do a drone shot that, let's see, yeah, so drone shot above the tool shed sitting in a field, but close in, and then you pull back and there's these patterns mowed in the grass.
Cups are-
like
Right.
circles. Pull back, pull back, pull back, and then eventually a couple people with the push mowers creating that pattern.
It's
And
the
and maybe they're in
energy logo.
costume. Bill said he would be in costume if we wanted to do it. And that just is the fun part of it, but it could have a voiceover that, you know, makes it kind of interesting or novel. But yes, we need something probably to explain more about, well, what is that thing? How does it work?
I'd be happy to help with that, even just a device like this. I've
Mm.
done several
Oh, yeah.
different videos recently. And the B-roll that you do and then the overlay of the thing, it's actually pretty painless to do that. You keep it short and concise.
Right.
Yeah.
And edit it, yeah. That would be just anything that just could put out there that would be helpful for people.
Well,
Yeah.
and Jeff
Jeff has
did,
grown,
yeah.
yeah, so he can, and
he
he's
can
already.
Do all this,
his
yeah.
son is gonna be
And
around.
he's got a field, he's got an ample field.
Well, we talked about maybe connecting with the town, finding out when they're next gonna mow at Estabrook and do
That's
it
cool.
really big.
Really,
But
big, yeah.
then the idea, it comes down to earth and you walk up to it and say, here I am, here's how
Right.
you use this thing.
Yeah,
Right,
So it's,
the long version, you know, the instruction.
well, be just very.
The
short.
instructions aren't long.
No, it's not.
No,
They're a 2 minute.
there's a
max.
30-second attention span.
Right, but 2 minutes. of-
2 minutes
Yeah.
should be.
Or do your little, you know, show and dance and then you have
Yeah,
a,
no, that's what I'm saying.
here's a link to
Separate.
the
Separate
2 minute
ones, yeah.
instruction.
But we should do that. I think it'd be important because that's, you see it when it was parked out by the post office, a lot of people said, what's that? How do you, what's it doing there?
Right.
And it's almost like somehow a promotional video would be helpful.
So speaking of videos, if I may jump a subject in here, what has happened to the video clips we started like with Eve on her renovation or
I thought
Energy
that
energy.
the last thing was that Jeff was gonna get his son to put together an edit and we would look at it. I can ask him where that's at.
that'd be great. And I have a few things I could send some pictures and have him do a little. I can talk with him about it.
Okay,
So if you also mention I'm available.
okay. Yep.
have a little-
Yeah, I think it would be good if, once we're ready to post something, if we had more than one, so that it
Yeah.
could be a repeating kind of
yeah.
recognizable
Series.
number.
Yeah,
Well, it
branded.
becomes an archive too, that
Right.
people can go in and, when you look on certain sites, there's a little gallery of clicks. And
Right.
it's 2 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
here's this one, here's how to use it, here's how to get there. Where it's gonna be next, you know. I have this thing called Spot the Station that tells me to the minute when that sucker's flying over. And I was out there last night and it's 4 minutes left. And it tells you where it's appearing and disappearing. And, you know, where's the tool shed? Where's Waldo? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
pretty
we
neat.
put these on not only the town website, but push them out through
Yeah.
transport forum and.
Instagram also, I think,
Yeah.
because they're some town folks.
So what's the next step? How do we do this?
Eve's already said that she would help,
I'm happy to help.
and
And-
I know Jeff is on board as far as doing the drone video.
Filming, yeah.
Because I've done a lot of editing and stuff and it's simpler is better.
Yeah.
Shorter is better.
Yeah.
Just get her done, 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Well, I suppose I'd be fooled out in the field cutting something if you want.
I'm an expert after 3.
But I don't think- I don't think, when you're talking about a field, I mean, you're talking about a lawn needing to be mowed, you're not gonna,
No, but this is for
Just for the drone.
the novelty.
no, I know, but
idea.
you'd need something that would really show up, and if you're just cutting lawn, grass from 5 inches
Depending
to
on the
3
time of
inches.
day, it would show up,
Mhm.
if the sun is low, kinda,
Yeah.
and it needs to be wide open, so there's not trees shading at all.
Worth a try.
You gotta figure, do some trial runs to see.
Yeah.
Whatever is easiest to do.
I'm so late.
Solar Fest needs some lawn mowing
Well, you
too.
have
just
nice lawns.
Throwing that out there.
I think you needed.
Or tight
mowing.
Huh?
I think you needed more than mowing.
Yeah, probably some hardy bushwhacking.
Yes. Well, so Eve, Robert. Myself, maybe.
Yep.
Got lined up. Why don't, we'll start an email.
Cool.
string and Start trying to get that, and I'll mention that you're ready to do your.
Yes, that'd be great.
That
Yeah.
spot. Great. Anything from the parade that I haven't already talked about? I feel like next year I want to prepare and do something more dramatic. I've had these thoughts before, but I never got my act together this year. Too much else going on, but you know, everybody knows those advertising things that are like people that are air blowing through them, flopping around. I could see doing something like that with the leaf blower that's 20 feet tall and, you know, it's like
Yes,
waving and getting
Should be
people.
Davenport, I tell you.
yeah.
Should be Davenport.
We tried that one year.
I know,
It's
but if
kinda
you did it
okay.
with balloons, it would be easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So my only two comments are that it felt like there was a more spontaneous embrace of our presence by a number of 3 or 4 groups that were really quite enthusiastically
yes,
clapping for us
yes. I
at a
agree.
level I hadn't heard in the
Yeah.
past. I mean,
Yes, it was very different this year.
I saw a lot of
And-
thumbs up, you know,
Right.
that
Yeah,
type of thing. We saw it quite cool.
And good old Bernie Carr, when I saw him at the end, said, "Hey, you guys are always doing such great stuff." He was very impressed that
Hmm.
we're doing.
Yeah.
Did you give a write-up to Bill that he spoke to?
Yeah.
'Cause he's great MC kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, they wanted something
It
really.
was a 6-second announcement.
Yes, they go by fast,
Sort
though.
Yeah.
He didn't have much time.
Think that the warmth was because last year there was the whole Michigas about the solar. And this year, that
Could be.
story.
Could be. I think it's the fact that the tool ship's been out there.
Been
and
out there.
people Now recognize it.
Yeah.
and
It's pretty
Not-
neat.
They're not saying, what is that thing? I'm
Oh.
saying, oh, I know what that is. That's cool.
That reminds me. We should paint the bike rack in front of the library.
Yeah.
Which
Although
is
we need
now
to find out
clear.
what the lawn maintenance guy is gonna do, because I've seen that he flips it when he mows.
Oh,
mow under it.
okay, okay, okay,
That's why I didn't put a sign on it.
okay.
I have.
Wait, the bike rack is
And there's
removable?
one or two of them that
Yeah,
need
it sits on the
tightening,
grass.
the sign.
Yeah, he's.
It's big though. It's like.
Okay.
It's table.
Okay, okay.
Speaking of which, are the bikes being used? Does anyone know?
I believe so. They're available.
That's one
Yeah.
thing we included in the parade last year, didn't think of. it.
Right, and Molly mentioned that to me Saturday when I picked up the 2 tools that were still there at the library. And I had, you know, it was like 2 hours before closing, so. But ride a bike, but yeah, we should do that definitely next year. But I think there's also, you know, like those advertising things, more we could do that would make it fun.
I saw a sign in the library. But you have to actually go in the library to see the sign saying, we have e-bikes that you can check out.
Yeah,
So it is announced somewhere in the
maybe we
library.
could think about whether we want to do a little sign on the bike racks in town.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
good idea.
E-bikes
Would make
available at the
sense.
library.
Yeah,
Don't they have a sign outside the library?
Might be on the board.
No, no, on the
That-
road
sign in
that you can see from the street. Yeah,
Says e-bikes.
No.
yeah,
Oh, good.
Oh, like a sandwich board?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, they might. sometimes.
yeah.
I think that's true.
But I'll tell you, it's e-bike weather now.
Yes,
It is perfect.
So e-bike signs on the
On the bike racks.
on bike racks.
Yeah,
Anyone get a design put together on that?
I can do that.
And we use some of our funds to get some
We could, yeah.
plastic cardboard signs.
And
Right.
once you figure out about the flipping, if you need, I mean, I'm happy to help paint.
Okay. Yeah, I still have the green paint. We would need to primer it with some durable. Um. So the Energy Navigator program, I guess we could say is officially launched. I haven't seen a signed agreement. But Seth has it, he's had it. I haven't heard from him. I don't know what's up. But they are ready to go. They were at the table in the park and we have a list of 10, now 11, if I count the museum. Folks who are ready to, sign up.
Hmm.
Um,
It would be very nice to have an actual navigator. at
Yes.
The Solar Fest.
yeah, Shannon's gonna be there and right now, you were there, I had a conversation with her about where they're at hiring somebody. And just for everybody else, it sounds like, they got their own funding, so they're set for their own purposes and Shannon could be sometimes the navigator. They've been expanding in Addison County and they have a bunch of volunteer navigators that are specifically navigating in their own town. She does have, 3 names, I think, that she talked about that they talked to previously before they got the contract with Middlebury. Same as ours, so they need to hire somebody. I think, did she say they'd started advertising? I don't remember.
I think you said they had some names.
Yeah, which I think they advertised a while ago. Anyway, that's in process and whether they have somebody or not, I think Shannon and, if they had somebody would be among the people that would do applications.
Actually, Shannon said that was a little drop off in the how busy she was with
Oh, yeah.
navigating.
Oh, really?
And that she
Okay.
would see starting to take up some of the Brandon
Okay,
candidates are
Okay.
interested this
Great.
month, because it's a little bit quiet for the moment.
okay, that's good. I didn't hear that.
So I think we have fairly good awareness now of, Brandon has an energy committee and we've got, a toolship and we're getting a navigator. But like we always see at any of these events, people see us. Not a lot of them stop by and sign up for anything. My hope is that a navigator is gonna be able to do a little bit of outreach.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, one of Shannon's questions is energy audits. How many we have and are they budgeted, that sort of thing. But I mean, kind of now is the time to start signing people up for energy audits.
Yeah.
If they're going to do things in the fall for the winter.
Anyone have a sense of what's going on with NeighborWorks and their energy audit team that's been needing to be beefed up?
Right, the staffing.
Looking.
I haven't talked to Melanie in a couple months, so I don't know what the current status is, but yeah, they were very short on staff.
Short, yeah.
Yeah. We do have the brochure, which was at the event. And I will probably, at the very least, put one of those in the library. I think we should, think about, and Shannon and I talked about, a 1-page, more poster style thing for bulletin boards. That maybe is not as expensive as these, to advertise it. But again, social media will be another thing to consider. And I think it could be part of the videos, the one of
Yeah.
the one of you that kind of plugs this.
Yeah.
I think that's also obviously at the Solar Fest event, that will be a big thing because she's actually going to be there not only for Brandon Energy Navigator program, but Addison County, their programs. And I think any that grant, the weather station. That would be something where I could see doing a little button up events at the library, maybe 2 people show up, but we show
Yeah.
them how to weatherize a window or something. And have the materials right there and they can take it away. And at the same time, we can say,
Yeah.
you might want to consider this. So. I think there's a lot of places we can expand the awareness and interact more with people than just sitting at a table and waiting for them. I'd like to get. When we have somebody, whether it's Shannon or somebody else. Go to like the senior center. Meeting. Make a presentation about the program.
Yes, yeah.
Would seem like, a better way to interact and get interest up. We sign people up.
What if you had somebody like every 2 weeks at the library, it's a specific time?
Right.
And you
Come,
just
we
actually
can answer
schedule it, so we can know
questions.
we can always go in.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody here can volunteer to be there, right? So,
Right.
I could do it sometimes, or somebody else could.
Yeah.
Just make it a set schedule so people
I could see doing that,
know it's there.
right? Yeah, it's kind of like the energy doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's, that's getting started and there's a lot we could be doing, so. I'm sure. Regularly, maybe next month I'll. You can come talk to us more about. Foresee happening in the bigger picture. The repair fair number 2 for this year, we've scheduled for August 2nd. Gonna do it out in the lobby again, because that seemed to work really well and it. Deals with inclement weather well. And it's ground floor access, so bigger things can come in. And. If you know somebody that might be open to, joining us on the repair front as repairers. People, Sarah, you mentioned that you would be up for that. And. I have a banner which we'll put up. We only get to put that up briefly. Before, like less than 2 weeks before, I think, depending on if they have something else they need to put up. I should check that. And I put something in the report which seemed pretty effective, but I didn't know if there was anything else that we could do to promote that.
Well, you do transport forum too, right?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, okay, I said report.
Yeah.
Oh,
You did say
I
report.
did both, I
Okay.
guess, last year. But yeah, French Fork Forum, sorry. This year.
Well, the townwide garage sale was managed by the chamber,
Okay,
so Arnie could get information out.
that's a good point.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, all right. Just for that.
I obviously.
Yeah.
Me an email to remind me with details
Yeah, absolutely.
and maybe any graphics.
I can get you an old photo. If there.
Yeah.
Cool. So the I'm gonna be the whole time. So let's see. We'll have Shannon will be there or somebody days.
If we have,
But we could have their literature with us.
if we have a navigator, they should be there.
Yeah, if we have somebody that's available. But I think we need, we should plan on having the table. I'd like to staff it. They are gonna have security, so at night, all the stuff could be left out. I'd love to have other folks who are available and kind of put our heads together separate from this. Maybe a little subcommittee to come up with ideas for that. I don't have a picture in my mind of what it's gonna be like, but how many?
There's a giant set with about 30 vendors.
30, okay.
Yeah.
And then there's separate tents for the workshops.
Right, which Shannon may do that.
So we have a very nice 8 foot by 8 foot booth. And the town of Brandon has a 20 foot by 8 foot booth.
Okay.
I'm
Now-
trying to get them to figure out how to make the best of Brandon stuff there. Yeah, whether it's the museum or poet laureates or artists or whatever. Yeah. Wouldn't want it to be an empty space.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, by booth, you mean just the square footage, right?
Yeah.
But not some structure that
No, it's
sits
all-
inside the tent, yeah. So,
Well, like we did in the park, we can have those materials there.
right,
Tables, and chairs and benches.
right, so I'm
We could
thinking,
put the tool ship. We may not have to put them inside, we can park it outside.
yeah. Um. I'm wondering if it makes sense to come up with something to support the banner up high, because in front of the table, once people are in front of it.
What the celebration of that tent looks like. Big
Yeah.
Pavilion. Right.
So this is, so this is the 10,
Yep,
and these are walls, the 10 when you
Okay.
open.
okay,
So,
so it could face outside or inside or both,
and we could probably put,
the full shape right
speaking
up.
of that, like, chart, I probably could, yeah, put the.
Full shape up there.
full chip
That's a
there,
good idea.
because this is not drum scale.
Yeah, sure.
So
right.
you're gonna be pretty busy though, right?
Yes,
Oh, yes, I will.
Yeah, you're not gonna be helping.
Flexible for anything.
And, I've volunteered,
Too.
okay,
I mean, I volunteered to help with whatever they needed, so it might be pretty tight up for
okay,
half the time.
But I get help.
okay, so are you around you?
And I
Eight,
should double check Sunday, I may be on kid duty, but
Okay,
Friday and Saturday I'm around.
okay. So I will. Drill on that. Maybe the 3 or 4 of us can get our heads together and think about what we need to come up with.
So one of the booths is gonna be occupied by window dressers.
Okay,
So I think maybe we could get Mike and Claire
Oh, man.
Schick to come because they were really interested in window dressers. Maybe get them to come in, sit in our booth a little bit, talk to the window dresser people.
They're only there on Saturday,
Sunday, Saturday.
according to Mike, Saturday.
You want me to talk to them?
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that probably window dressers is maybe a good project for us this fall.
yeah,
And if we're gonna buy insulation and stuff like that, maybe we could chip in some of that grant money for low income folks that need windows.
So the window dressers, they recommend like a 9-month
yeah, I was gonna say this
planning
fall is,
process. It's
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
yeah,
kind of 6 months behind already.
What? It's not February?
Also, I don't know that, the grant that we got. That. I can talk to that. They actually have given a number of grants specifically for window dressers. So I know that, they're trying with that, but in terms of what I described, it kind of falls outside, so I would want to check that.
I would think window dresser is a good weatherization type project.
Oh, it absolutely is. I just don't know how they are with what I told them versus what we do.
Who are we talking about is who?
Grassroots Fund is the grant. It's from. It was a pretty elaborate application.
Illogical if they didn't cover it, but
It would be.
Never know.
We should look into it. I will contact them about that. I,
so Joyce, you want to talk to Claire or you want me to?
I'll be glad to. I was just thinking about them today.
Good. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm totally in favor of window dressers and think that we should think about doing an event. I just don't know that this fall would work.
Next fall,
And a lot.
Next-
All
next
the
fall.
information and-
Yeah.
2026,
Need a lot of people.
but I would be
I'd be.
in it.
It's a good community building kind of project.
Exactly.
And anybody who lives along Route 7, Franklin Street could probably use them.
And it's true. Grass is
Just
just.
for the noise.
Just moved to apply for a grant specifically.
So should definitely talk to those folks on that Saturday.
So the resource library, we did get the grant, $300-400. I'm waiting for the funding to actually hit. But once the funding is in, the library will start ordering materials. I've got some of that mapped out already. Thinking there should be some literature that we come up with to go along with that. Maybe some video links to, really good YouTube videos about how to do various things. So before we actually launch all that, probably I'll want to get together with a couple of you to kind of hammer all that out. But we have, I think, it doesn't make sense to launch it until the fall. So we have some time, but start thinking about that. Let's see. Is there anything else on that? Yeah, no. Don't need to get into the details yet. And so I already mentioned the budget, this year, 100. I would think that we would still do a button-up event. It might be different than previous button-up events. It might really feature. You can think about how that might be different. Shannon will certainly have some ideas. She's done a bunch of events with VEEP, which is Vermont Energy Education Program, I think. And they have some new interesting little model houses that they demonstrate some principles of thermal efficiency, which are pretty informative for somebody who doesn't know anything. And they kind of teach you how houses work, heat wise, cooling wise. That might be something good to consider. Bob West had them come to Goshen and they did the SEAC presentation, and then the VEEP person did her presentation. I thought it was pretty engaging because it's sort of hands-on. It's almost like a little workshop almost, that part of it. And Shannon is pretty good, kind of just engaging people in conversation. So we might consider that for the button-up event.
Why don't we do it?
We
Why don't you
can-
find out if she's available and
Yeah, oh
get a
yeah,
date set?
well, sure.
Sounds really
But
good.
the
I
one of the
wanted to
things,
get people's thoughts on whether that seems.
what the
Approach.
one of the things that I went to the Salisbury version of that,
Okay,
Salisbury.
oh, right, yes,
And they had pizza,
right.
which is, I think, an important facet to this kind of program.
I've been saying this since I joined the committee.
I know. So how do we come up with?
Well, if the consultant brought it, we didn't tell them.
Yeah, but
No, I'm
paying-
kidding.
I know.
We could the money, right? Maybe get some donations specifically for food.
Well,
I mean, I think like, if we all threw in $10 and then asked
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever place in town you want to
Yeah.
get the pizza from to
Right.
like maybe match that or something,
Right. Yeah.
and
I think
and we
that's a
put their
really-
name out with the
no,
pizza,
I think
They
like,
did the same thing in Goshen. They had
Yeah.
pizza.
liquor store pizza.
No, I mean,
Liquor
this
store,
is,
It's pathetic.
I mean, a cage store
station.
there, was it Beach or was it SEAC or who?
Did you live in
I
Rutland?
don't know.
Maybe you
That was
find
their
out,
wording.
maybe they have some resources for for that. Well,
It could be. I will ask.
but I think it's a key element.
No, I think that's a good observation. You're probably exactly right.
I agree with Aaron on that.
What? You do or don't
I
agree?
do agree, I think that, no, I think it's very useful.
We'll just have surprise event pizza served. See what happens.
So that reminds me of. that reminds-
Topic TBD, but there will be pizza.
That reminds me of something I thought of. I've talked about in the past when I talked about weatherization resource library. So I have one of those portable backup battery things that you could power the electric hot plate with and make some pancakes or something. Which I forget who. All the meetings and events I've been at, who said that they did this at a energy fair, that they plugged in a hot plate in their car that had an outlet and made pancakes. And it was a solar charged electric vehicle, you know, that kind of thing. But we could do that at the Solar Fest event. We could make something for people to eat and that would draw people in.
Yeah, that would draw people in, especially if they were chocolate chip pancakes.
Mhm.
Is that a
Just a-
specific request?
Mm-mm. I don't eat
So
pancakes
I
anymore.
mean, it's gotta take some, again, resources and funds to. pull something like
Wouldn't
that.
take that, but
No, okay.
we'll put
It's
that
not
into
a
the
big
agenda when we meet on that.
Yeah, I would donate flour, or whatever we,
I think it'd be worth it.
Oh, you donate the chocolate chips.
I could also donate the chocolate chips. I also could arrange probably for there to be power at the table.
Well, I thought it would be interesting to have like. Who's gonna donate the?
It would be.
Under a blanket.
Yeah.
Well, can we use an induction hot plate? That's-
I have actually, what's the orientation of the pen? Which way is?
So south is this one.
Okay, so we're
Yeah,
on sunny side.
but it is, I mean, all of our power is solar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Right,
But I
it's
get
not
the visual.
exactly-
Yes, the visual,
I have some solar panels, they wouldn't be generating.
Yeah, you just prop them up and
Oh,
pretend they're
You
hooked up.
know, the camping ones that fold.
Yeah.
It provides a hot plate.
Table. We could fit,
You can use my induction hot plate.
exactly, sorry. I digress.
if, I might be able to talk to someone about putting panels somewhere. Or, maybe maybe it's like,
Up on top of the tent.
well, or, I don't know.
Remotely.
Yeah, somewhere slightly more remote.
Well, we will have the one on the tool ship and that actually has a pretty big battery, so we could actually.
Oh, that's-
hook
Use the
tank
tool
up
chip
to
for the, yeah, that's a nice.
100 amp hour.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
That is pretty good.
Up your eco batteries too.
We could, actually, I have a little inverter that will take one of those. It only is 120 watts or something. but- Yep. Okay. I think we've beaten it to death, haven't we? Is there anything else that?
Oh, committee membership.
Membership.
We should honor with a
Right,
standing O.
Oh.
Oh, here.
Guy.
Oh, standing over, that's.
I'm still here.
We like
Okay.
I'm not dead yet.
Next time you have to sit out there.
That's it, that's it. Yeah.
So-
It just, the only downside is, maybe I shouldn't resign until you have a new member,
Well,
just
no.
so that we have a quorum.
No, the quorum number stays the same. Oh,
Yeah, you're.
But
I see what you mean.
I think the job is if you're going to resign, you have to find a replacement.
Oh.
Your own
Well,
replacement.
I tried to get, do you guys know David Crane? He's a plumber, really great guy, really like salt of the earth, solid guy. And I thought having somebody
Yeah.
who like,
Mhm.
would be really great, but he lives at Master
Oh.
Sudbury.
um,
So he's,
Takes care of
Yeah.
that.
can't be an official member. But
There's
maybe
somebody
there's
from
a
GMP
plumber
who
in
lives in
town,
Brandon.
I don't know.
I don't think
Say
there
again?
is.
Anybody from GMP who lives in Vermont.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I don't know that there is, but there's the two
I
Fishers.
think there is a, I think there's
Yeah.
a upper
Yeah.
crust guy that has to do with planning and all that stuff with GMP that's here.
Yeah, there's a list I looked up. There's 9 people there. There's a chief people officer, she's called, and then there's some others we might be able to find out if they've got somebody on the line or whatever who's in the company.
yeah,
That would be-
Yeah.
That would be a resource liaison that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
See if I can find out.
I do have one person that I haven't approached yet. I'm not gonna out them right now, so.
So I think for the last 7 or 8 years we've had this committee, we've never had a quorum problem.
Right,
This is a dedicated group of people.
We had to scramble once, but.
yes,
But only one.
right. I think probably the thing that we've had more is that we can't meet more than 3 of us at the time, right? Without having,
Yeah,
Without accidentally, well, it's
well, 4 of us now.
4 now.
We were working.
We can meet up to
I still
3.
have a problem.
we're not more than 3.
Right, correct. We can meet up to 3. Yeah, yeah.
oh, without.
Without accidentally having,
Although if you're not.
I
Yeah,
can be your,
perfect.
your fourth, that doesn't
Exactly.
count. That's good.
There
I
you
like that. It's actually
Right.
better.
Yeah.
Stealth membership.
which you're all invited to be stealth members. Come be stealth members of the Energy Committee.
I know it's only a couple of months until school starts up again.
Student member.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's get some kid from Otter Valley.
Right.
Maybe a non-voting member, but
Yeah, I talked to Seth about his concerns about that, and a non-voting member, he'd be totally fine with.
so they can fight for the country and they can vote, but they can't vote on the energy committee.
Right.
They have,
Stowe has kids on their committee
oh, really?
and they vote, so.
The
I presume if they were 18,
It would be.
they would be able to be a voting member.
Well, if it's a senior in Otter Valley, they're probably like 23 or 24.
The thing we need is someone who's enthusiastic about fighting, because we could, like you said, there's a number of things that can be done weekly or monthly basis that would help our cause.
Yes.
And we don't have any enthusiast.
The youth I know, like,
Right.
where I was doing the parade stuff with Ally Walter, and she doing Blooming Bungalow, but when she was doing the other store. And she did some stuff with the DDA, she was outside, like, she's on the media all the time.
Yeah.
And something was out in public,
Yeah, yeah.
and a younger person like that just knows how to pick up.
Yeah.
In 2 seconds, something's, and then they can't wait to get back on an hour
Yes.
later.
Yeah, I think that's a
could use
big gap that we could fill, so. He likes to put out a little, you know,
Right out,
either a
sure.
paragraph or 2. New glasses?
I just put on, had him on.
I didn't know.
I can't see so well up close with them.
I. What? Vote that, or no, I
Move.
propose, ooh, there we go.
Yeah.
You see me in motion now.
You're
I
you're-
so moved.
For someone who's. moved.
I am moved to move. That we remove ourselves from this meeting.
Freezing it here.
Hey.
Second. Oh, no.
I second.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome.
Nice to see you again, Eve.
It's a pleasure.
Got a block.
You guys are great.
Down front.
I am,
I think we need a theme song.
I'm trying to get to the screen.
oh, sorry.
Make a better wall than a window.